Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all students and all parents for attending this session today. This is the Head of Year 8 webinar, and this session is really to provide you with a little bit more information about what school is going to look like over the next couple of weeks, things to remember and things to prepare for everybody. So a big welcome back to those of you that have been at GFS already, and obviously welcome to those who will be joining us for the very first time. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mr. Jack and I am the Head of Year 8 here at GFS. I'm also the Head of History and I've taught at the school for just over 3 years now. I was appointed as Head of Year in February, just before we moved the school closed for our distance learning period. So I did get to meet a lot of you before the school closed, but I'm really looking forward to us getting back, welcoming a lot of you to the school and getting to know a few more names and faces as we carry on. It's been a real privilege to be Head of Year so far, even though a lot of that time has been through distance learning. But as I've said before, I'm really proud of all the work you've done, all the efforts you've put in, and really looking forward to getting back and having a lot more people within the school. I'm going to start the session by introducing you or reminding you of some important people in our secondary team. So most of these people have stayed pretty much the same as last year, but there is one small change you might have noticed. So we have Mr. Ian Plant, who is our Head of Secondary, who you should all recognise, and Miss Gurpreet Dhaliwal, who was Deputy Head of Secondary last year and still is. But we also have another Deputy Head of Secondary, Mr. Mike Jones. He was already at the school before, so you probably do recognise him, but his role's changed slightly and he's now an official member of our secondary team. Also, Miss Hannah Monk will remain as our Head of Key Stage 3. Hopefully you got to hear from her yesterday. She did a session very similar to this with a little bit more information. And obviously myself there at the bottom, Mr. Jack Winston, I'll be the Head of Year 8. And like I said, just been within this role within the past few months and really looking forward to continuing as we go along. As part of my role, it is to oversee the provision during form time and form tutors that we have in Year 8. And, this has always been the case, but we need to really stress the fact that we want you as parents and as learners as well to go to your form tutor first when you've got any problems. We have lots of different leaders, as you can see there in secondary, that will always be happy to help. However, myself and our form tutors do need to come first if you've got any queries or concerns about what's going on at school, both before and when we do start as we go along. You should have already received an email from your form tutor, or your child's form tutor or your form tutor. So please, if you haven't done so already, do double check your inbox. It might have gone in your junk file because a lot of them have gone missing as we've gone along. So please do make sure you double check that, because those emails are really important and have lots of important information in terms of what form class you're part of or your child is part of and what bubble they are going to be in. And we'll talk about that in a bit more later. I'll just go through them quickly. So we've got the form tutor for 8A is Miss Shipra, 8B is Miss Dina, 8C, Miss Catherine, 8B, Mr. Jack Parrott, not to be confused with me, Mr. Jack Winston, he also goes by Mr. JP. 8E is Miss Yasmina, 8F, Mr. Edmund and Miss Caroline, 8G, Mr. Joseph, 8H, Miss Aya and Miss Rehab, 8I is Miss Bianca, and 8J is Miss Radhika. As you can see, most of the form tutors have remained the same or very similar to last year. Some members of the team like Miss Radhika have moved away from 8A to 8J, and we've also been a little bit of a change in terms of the forms. Last year there were 12 forms, so we had a 7K and 7L, but due to the growth of the school in other areas, we've had to cut that down. So we're now on 10 forms. So there is going to be quite a few changes with lots of learners from especially 8K and L going to other places. But hopefully, those of you most of you will keep the same form tutor as last year. But nevertheless, this team, predominantly has been at the school for 1 or 2 years. so they do have an understanding and will happily welcome you back to the school over the next couple of weeks. Form time is going to be slightly different this year. I'll go through the schedule of the day in just a moment as well. For those of you that don't know, each day your form tutor will lead what we call form time, which will be slightly different to a normal lesson such as maths or English or science. And during this time, it's more or less there to develop social skills, but also that time for you to speak to your form tutor, get to know them, and have discussions. It's going to be very, very important, especially